The world is watching. Stadium lights glow, flags wave, and athletes from every corner of the globe step onto the world's biggest stage. Records will be broken, legends will be made, and stories will be written that last far beyond the closing ceremony. But what if the spirit of the games didn't end when the torch went out? And what if that energy lived on, not just for a few weeks, but year-round? That's where our story takes us today on An Idiot's Guide to Imagineering. Hello, Imagine Idiots. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 6 of Idiot's Guide to Imagineering. The Olympics officially kicked off this past Friday, and we are fully leaning into that energy this week. And somehow this episode is also dropping the day after the Super Bowl, which means America has collectively not slept for about 48 hours at this point.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know who played, who won, or what a down is, but I assume that everyone had a great time.
Correct. And Bad Bunny was involved, and I thoroughly enjoyed that, but that's really all I've got.
Yep.
Well, as the only sports idiot, I've got y'all covered with the need to know info. So football happened, emotions are high, and now we all immediately pivot to the Olympics.
Wow. Okay.
Well, that honestly feels right, because if the Super Bowl is about one big night, the Olympics are about weeks of world-class honor and glory.
And I am fully seated for all of it. And since the games have us glued to our screens right now, we started asking ourselves a very important question. What if the Olympic magic didn't end with the closing ceremony? Well, before we dive into that, a quick reminder, Idiot's Guide to Imagineering is fully on YouTube. Maps, visuals, references, all of it. If you're listening on audio, you can catch the full experience anytime by searching for us and subscribing right now. And I got so carried away with all this football talk, as I always do. You know me, always talking football. I didn't even introduce my fellow Olympiad idiots tonight, Marissa and Jenny.
Hello.
Hi.
Jenny, you just can't get enough of us.
I know. I'm back for a second week in a row. But when I heard there was Olympics involved, I wasn't missing it. So if there's figure skating, I'm here for it.
Yeah, if there are medals, drama, and emotional backstories, I'm already crying. Those video packages on NBC get me every single time.
Yeah.
She's tearing up just thinking about it. But that is perfect, because today we are taking the Olympic energy and asking what it might look like if Imagineering were tasked with bringing the Olympic Village itself to the parks, to Walt Disney World. But before we do that, it's time for our weekly prompt.
Oh.
Now, I thought I could be boring and just ask what everyone's favorite Olympic sport is, but I thought of something better themed for us idiots.
Okay.
Which Olympic sport would make the worst Disney attraction, and why?
Oh.
Jenny, since you're back for round 2, you're going first again.
Oh, gosh. The worst attraction?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be Winter Olympics, or can I go any
No,
Olympics?
it could be any Olympics.
Ooh,
Either.
okay. Maybe curling?
Okay.
Or no, I'm gonna say shot put. That just sounds dangerous. I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know. So I guess I'll go with that, because I can't imagine what you could do for that. So Steven, what's your idea?
So I obviously wrote this and I thought of one. It was very similar to yours, and it was javelin.
Oh.
Because I just thought if guests are slinging these sticks all through the air,
yes,
everybody, it's like, look out above, because you've got either the shot put coming from Jenny or the javelin coming from me, and neither of us know what we're doing with that.
We shouldn't be throwing things. Yeah.
We don't need to be given anything to throw. So that's mine.
Yeah.
Marissa, what do you think?
I don't know if this is a cop-out answer. Golf. I just feel like golf is so boring, and my dad would kill me if he heard this, but I don't know if he listens to every episode, so I might be safe, because my dad loves golf. I just, no.
Well, they have mini golf.
which is fun. So I do have a.
So this is a true
I
goal.
have a second question. Second answer.
Okay.
Curling. I don't get it.
Is that what Jenny said?
That was my first one before I thought of shot put.
You said curling?
Yeah.
Is that what I...
Marissa's still watching the Olympics.
Don't get
she's not paying attention to this recording. She's watching watching figure skating and the other
I guess because I started
screens.
listening to your other thing. And it's again, one of my best friends, and I don't think she listens to every episode, so she might not hear this, but if she does, sorry, Abby. She was a huge curler. Her and her husband were doing it for years. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, I don't know how that would translate to a ride.
Right.
So I think
they're sweeping ice.
It's not necessarily that you're criticizing the sport. You're just saying it doesn't translate into an experience that people want to have in a theme park.
I just don't want to have that experience ever.
Well, okay. Really
Good for
hope
the
Abby's
curlers.
not
Go
listening
Team
to this.
USA, but...
Wow. Okay.
Sorry.
Marissa with the tough takes once again. Every week, something.
Yeah. People like our podcast because they just like to hear it.
She's
they
so
like
real
to hear
for
me
that.
give it
She's
real.
very real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
They're here for my real talk.
Real and raw with Marissa.
Not going to lie, not going to pretend here. But on that note, it's time for our Imagineering project of the week.
Whoa.
For those joining us for the first time, each week our team selects a project manager to develop a thoughtful strategic proposal for a new or updated Disney experience. Our ideas are grounded in reality, taking into account current technology, existing park infrastructure, and the principles that make Disney magic work. While we're mindful of budgets, we're not bound by them, giving us the freedom to explore ideas that are informed, imaginative, and educational, offering a peek into how Imagineering balances story, design, and guest experience. This week's project manager is Steven.
Well, the 2026 Winter Games have arrived, and they've really inspired us to create something Olympic-worthy. And have we got a show for you? Today, we are taking you to the Olympic Village for your chance to stay with the competitors and live the experience year-round. This is one of the more layered concepts I've ever developed for this show, and there is a lot to unpack here, so stay with me. But I want to start with a question that kind of guided this entire project.
Okay.
What happens when Imagineering is tasked with bringing a third-party IP to life?
I was thinking, how did the Olympics connect back to Disney?
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you an answer to everything that you just thought, Marissa, and we'll go there together. But Imagineering is often perceived as one of the most creative jobs in the world. It's a place where boundaries are pushed and the sky's the limit. And while the end results might look that way, the reality is a lot more complex, especially as we learned last week in North Uldra with the risk appetite. And I think creativity at Imagineering doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's very shaped and refined and sometimes constrained by very real limitations. And I promise this is not about to turn into an Imagineering 101 lecture, but this context really matters for where we're going. So just bear with me for a second. But yeah, in fact, so there's all kinds of factors that can influence and restrict what Imagineers can actually do. There are spatial limitations, there are budget limitations, story and brand alignment, there's operation feasibility, there's third-party oversight. Are there going to be external partners or studios or licensors who have approval power over creative decisions? And I really wanted to lean into that one very specifically today, this third-party oversight. Because I think it's an area of Imagineering that we don't often hear a lot about. But it's a very unique and real aspect of it. So on numerous occasions, Disney has entered these partnerships and licensing agreements with brands and IP that don't belong to them. And to me, the clearest, recent, and most grand scale example of this would have to be Pandora World of Avatar. And I know we talk about that a lot on this show, but I do really think it's one of the modern day Imagineering marvels. As much as I'm not connected to that IP necessarily, I do think it is one of their big Imagineering achievements. And so we go back to it a lot to reference. But when it opened in 2017, it wasn't just this new land. It was one of the most surprising partnerships that I think Disney has probably ever taken on. It really wasn't a Disney property at the time that it was opened. It was owned by 20th Century Fox and created by James Cameron and his company, which is Lightstorm Entertainment. So Imagineering was essentially working under a licensing agreement since 2011, which meant a lot of these decisions had to be reviewed or approved by James Cameron's team. And it made things really interesting. He was very famously known for being detail-oriented and like just the kind of person that would like push to make sure every plant or prop or line of dialogue that fits the science of the story of his world. It sounds a lot like me, like to where everything is like, no one's going to notice this, but he notices it. But you got to think that Imagineering's focus was probably more about story flow and placemaking and guest experience, which is something he wasn't familiar with. Like, what guest experience is he trying to do when he's making a movie? Like, it's the viewer experience. So I think Imagineering really had to like figure out, how does this story unfold and how do we make it align with what he's doing, where these two worlds meet, and how do we find the common ground? And from what's been shared publicly, I think even small things like the Na'vi alphabet or the shape of the floating mountains went through layers of reviews before there was final sign-off on this, and it was just constant back and forth. And it came out to be this kind of gold standard for collaboration, I think. Pandora feels very authentic to Avatar, but it still feels authentic to Disney as well. So I think you can kind of sense both creative fingerprints on it. And that's why I wanted to use that as the framework for today's project. So thanks for going through that little mini lecture with me. Because this week we're imagining what would happen if Imagineering partnered with another massive, globally recognized brand. And it's an institution that is built entirely on human achievement and storytelling itself. And of course, I'm talking about the Olympics.
Yeah. No big deal. Just the Olympics.
No big deal. Just the Olympics. Just casually, the elite. So there's a lot of directions I feel like we could take with bringing the Olympics to the parks. And I think back to season 1, episode 15, where we proposed creating an Olympics-themed bobsled attraction for the canceled Switzerland Pavilion. Do y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think you could host Olympic-themed events across the property. You could dream up like an Olympic-style festival for World Showcase. Like I was thinking to hand out passports to get stamped at different sporting event pop-up stands in the country. Like maybe you try your hand at shot put or javelin or something. Curling. Marissa's going to be at the curling stand all day long. She's getting that stamp over and over and over.
Curling and golf.
She's going to be ringlet curled by the end of it. And golf. But yeah, I think any of those ideas would really work. And let's just assume they could all be happening in tandem with the project that I landed on. But no, I am actually going to take us outside of the parks today to a place very few people get to experience. And if you're not a world-class athlete or part of the Olympic team, you will likely never see the Olympic Village at the games. But now you can.
Ooh.
I am proposing an expansion. What?
Where are we going?
I'm proposing an expansion of Disney's All-Star Sports Resort to double the size into a fully realized Olympic Village inside of Walt Disney World.
Oh, cool. Oh my gosh.
So welcome to All-Star Sports Olympic Village, a premier value resort.
This is what the All-Star Sports has needed. It is so nostalgic, but it's very tired. It needs some paint. It needs some pizzazz.
Now, I'm going to ask this question. specifically to Jenny, because Marissa and I are probably a little biased here.
Yeah.
When I think of the value resorts, I think of All-Star Sports as the least desirable value resort of all of all three All-Stars, but all values in general. Do you feel the same way?
I do. So I love All-Star movies because I love movies.
That's the best of the All-Stars. I think everyone knows that.
I would say, and I think part of it too is sports can be considered a little bit niche for some people, you know, like everybody, I mean, you're at Disney because most likely the Disney movies got you into it. And then, you know, I mean, everyone listens to music of some kind, but there are people like you, Steven, you're not the biggest sports fan. So for you, it may not have a ton of appeal. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's always been the least desirable. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you guys feel the exact same way, and I wonder how many other people do too.
I thought it was probably just me because sports is not my go-to, but that's good, and that's why I chose this, because I wanted to give the least desirable value some more value, for lack of a better word. But yeah, so before we go any further, I can hear the Reddit crowd groaning all the way from your keyboards wherever you are across the world. So my disclaimer here is that I want you to trust me that I have thought through nearly every aspect of this and all of the challenges it could bring. And that is a big point of what makes this episode so unique and important. So don't shut us off just because you think this is a crazy, far-fetched idea. But before we go any further, I want to discuss our Imagineering term of the week, which is collaborative IP design.
Oh,
shocking. Who saw that coming after the spiel I just gave about James Cameron and Imagineering? But this is the practice of designing experiences in partnership with external intellectual property owners, where Imagineers balance creative storytelling, brand integrity, guest experience, and operational requirements while respecting the expectations and approvals of the IP holder. It's a mouthful, but everything we just talked about, that's what it means. So the reason I wanted to discuss it early is because it's kind of the lens that you have to view this entire project through, and how I developed this. This episode revolves around what happens when a third party, and in this case, it's the International Olympic Committee, not NBC, Marissa, not the broadcast company. This is the International Olympic Committee, and they have final approval over this concept. So that's the way we're envisioning this. So I think over the course of this show, we've always aimed to present ideas that could realistically work in the parks and resorts. And I am not naive enough to think that the IOC would instantly greenlight a project like this. You know, it's a world-class brand that's casually going to appear inside of a Disney value resort. I think they're probably just as protective of their positioning as Disney is. So I'm not dumb. I've thought of this, and I did my research for the sake of this project, and I kind of crafted this solution. And this isn't just a case of me dreaming up something and then after the fact panicking and wondering. Like, this is all very intentional, because I have creative projects in the past where I thought, this is never going to work. Why did I do this? I need to figure out a way. But I went into this knowing this is probably a long shot. So the point of this episode is precisely to explore how these collaborations work and what solutions emerge from those conversations. So here's my approach. Let's imagine we've been in a back and forth discussion with the IOC. They've responded positively. They're excited about the project, but only if we adjust kind of the positioning of what this is slightly. And that's where semantics really come into play. And so I think by framing this resort as an elevated offering above a standard value tier, we call this All-Star Sports Olympic Village a premier value resort. And so we add this word that changes how you see it. It's immediately making it a distinction. So when I say premier value, I still mean value. This isn't, you know, marble floors.
I was going to say, is this going to be a whole new category?
This is not. This is just Disney kind of asking what a value resort looks like when it's designed differently. And I know every single person listening to this, including the two of you, are probably rolling your eyes thinking that I am overthinking this and over-explaining this, because that's what I do. But I really pride myself in bringing realistic vision to these things, and I want this to be no exception. So just so we're all clear, this is approved by the IOC as a level above value, but it is a value resort.
Gotcha.
Y'all are on board?
Mm-hmm.
Or should I shut it down now?
No, let's
I
keep
like
going.
it.
Okay.
I'm into it.
I mean, I'm here to create a whole new category altogether, not just here, everywhere.
She's making Valuatorate. Malu.
A Malu.
The in-between moderate.
The moderate values.
The Malu.
I'll be there.
Well, let's get to the fun part. Let's head over to the resort so you can experience the Olympics in a whole new way.
Okay, let's go.
So I guess it's helpful to know where this is going. Imagine you're standing in front of the giant All-Star Sports letter near the bus stop and the current resort facing the street. So you're facing out away from the building. Beyond those trees is enough space to build nearly 2.5 more All-Star resorts.
Wow.
So we're going to be using that space directly across to double the size of All-Star Sports only, not the other two. So we're going to add an additional 1,900 rooms. So this is just really...
That's a lot, yeah.
Like same size, just on the other side of the street.
That's
so
crazy.
let's go inside. The main lobby, which I'm calling the opening ceremony hall, it's really going to set the tone the moment that you arrive. Cast members are going to greet you as if you're stepping onto the red carpet with international flags hanging overhead and giant imagery of legendary Olympians lining your path. And you will feel the energy and excitement and the sense of something extraordinary is about to begin. And this is the start of your vacation.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
That's your check-in experience. And then just off the lobby, we're going to have this showcase of a mini museum with Olympic medals of like past, present, and maybe upcoming, what the new medal is going to look like or something. And pieces of like the torches maybe could be there from old games that you could see. And you can kind of take a moment to admire the history and honor the games, just like the athletes themselves. So I really want you to feel like you are kind of becoming this athlete and you're seeing real history happening next to you, and like they probably would when they're in the village. So
I'm not into sports, but I have always wanted to be an Olympian. So I feel like this would just be making my dreams come true.
I think the Olympics is everyone's sports crossover.
Yeah.
Like if you're not into sports, this is where you buy in for a little bit.
I was a gymnast my whole life until I went to college. So I always thought I was going to the Olympics, and clearly that did not happen because I would bring that up every other day if I had been in the Olympics. So this is just the next best thing, really.
I think you're right. This is your opportunity to do it.
As long as we have real beds and not some of those cardboard beds.
No, cardboard. We're not doing that.
Was that in China?
We're not doing
Where was that?
I think that was Tokyo.
That was like, I knew somewhere in Asia with the cardboard beds.
Yeah. Well, as you leave opening ceremony hall to make your way toward the back of the resort, the guest experience unfolds, revealing 2 distinct themed neighborhoods, summer games and winter games. So depending on if you're staying on the left side of the resort or the right side of the resort, you'll be in one of these 2 neighborhoods. And each neighborhood is going to have 3 distinct areas within it. So for summer games, you could stay in the gymnastics section, the track and field section, or the swimming section. And for the winter games, you could stay in the ice skating section, the skiing, snowboarding section, or the bobsled and luge section.
Those are so fun.
So Marissa's calling gymnastics. I think Jenny's going to be at figure skating.
Yep.
Now,
what would you take?
I don't know. I'm really interested in maybe the swimming one.
Okay.
That would be fun.
I think I'd be happy with any of those.
Actually,
though.
you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
No, they're all
bobsled
so
would
great.
be fun too.
That would be fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm happy with any of them. So then I considered weaving in Disney IP references like Cool Runnings or Ice Princess, but ultimately I decided this experience needs to stand on its own. And this is the Olympic Village. It's built on the All-Star Sports Foundation, but it's elevated and grand and designed to celebrate the games themselves. It's going to be fun and over the top, obviously, because of the nature of All-Star and value, but it's in a way that feels intentional and not like low-hanging fruit like these IP grabs. And so it's kind of funny because last week, Jenny, you brought up a point that I didn't use characters on the Frozen attraction that I created. And I really kind of thought the same way about this experience too. So back to back, I've thought about ways to create a Disney experience without using Disney characters.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that you're on both episodes where I did that. But yeah, so for a project like this, I think you can imagine the IOC would be preferring this experience to feel completely centered on the Olympics themselves without any outside IP attract or distractions, but kind of keeping the resort feeling elevated and premium in its presentation. So I think that lends itself in a way to kind of creating this premier and earning this premier title to it. Even though it's all fictional, this project, I think you could kind of see situations where something like this is proposed and turned down, perhaps due to strict rules about keeping the experience solely focused on the game. So this is my first spot in this hypothetical idea that I thought, here's an idea, maybe we pitched it and they shot it down. And so that's my way of saying, no characters, they don't want it, we're not doing it. So the concept really kind of ties back to what we discussed with how Pandora World of Avatar really feels completely authentic to its IP, but still feels Disney. So the challenge here, like Avatar, is how do you make this experience unmistakably Olympics, but retain Disney's placemaking and guest focus storytelling? And that being said, I kind of wanted to push that idea a little further and think, what if we, instead of seeing Disney IP as a distraction, what if we positioned it back to the IOC in an official Olympics capacity and not as cartoons or characters, but as a part of the real histories of Disney's involvement with the games? And like, where was Disney really involved with the Olympics? And that's where you bring in your Disney flair. And did some research on this, and it turns out that Disney actually has a fascinating track record here. And back in 1960, I didn't know any of this, Walt Disney himself served as a chairman of the pageantry committee for the Winter Olympics in Squaw Valley. And his team designed the opening and closing ceremonies and helped choreograph the torch relay and even created commemorative statues and symbols for the games.
That's cool.
Which was very interesting to me. Made me think back to our ski resort back in season 1 that Walt had originally created that was canceled.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in this way, I feel like you could really imagine this Imagineering's working with the IOC to weave in subtle tributes to these real moments in Disney history and kind of celebrate the company's contributions to the Olympic movement without it feeling kitschy or distracting or cartoonish. And so I felt like it was kind of layered and creative and reinforced this Imagineering term of the week, collaborative IP design, because it kind of makes the resort feel more fun because you're not just stepping into a generic Olympic village, you're stepping into one of these clever nods to Disney's real Olympic legacy here.
Yeah. And I feel like most people probably don't know that Disney does have that connection to the Olympics.
Yeah.
I didn't until you just shared that with us.
I had no idea.
I think you could really weave that into the museum piece in the opening, and I also think it could be used as like decor in the rooms. Like maybe there's photos, black and white photos of Walt at the games that are kind of like not the focal point, but just subtly in there to like kind of feel Disney instead of blatant Disney you. Yeah. So let's go back to the opening ceremony hall, and just off of it is the Torchlight Dining Hall. And this is the heart of the resort where champions come together to refuel. So Marissa, you are this Olympic athlete now, and this is your opportunity to refuel. This is going to
eat.
This is going to be, you're going to find out, this is going to be a different type of food court. We've never done one. Disney has never done one like this at a value resort. This is going to be a 3-story food court, which features seating on the second and third levels. So pick up all your food on level 1, and then you go upstairs to eat. So it's going to give guests this elevated view of the central hub of the resort.
That's nice.
And then, Marissa, you're asking about what you might eat. You're going to find a variety of cuisines here themed around the countries that might be represented in the games. So China, Italy, USA, Mexico, to name a few. So whether you're racing to a gold medal in track and field or racing through the parks, this is the place to build your stamina.
Oh, okay. Sounds yummy.
She's ready to fuel up.
Yep, I'm there.
Yeah. Do the Olympians get Mickey waffles? Like they still eat that, right?
They do now.
Okay, yeah, they
They
better.
do here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will.
Yes.
I think most Olympians are eating Mickey waffles.
I think so too. It's
I think
good
regardless if
nourishment,
it's
right?
at Disney or I think at any Olympics in history, that's a big part of
Yes.
of the breakfast of champions,
yeah.
right?
Big
Mickey
part of
waffles.
bulking up. Yeah.
And we're bringing back the big ones, not these little baby ones anymore.
Oh, yeah.
I think you can only get a big one in like one place on property. So enough of that. This is premier. That's what makes
This
it
is a
premier.
premier value, okay?
This is what makes
Champions get champion Mickey waffles.
That's right. This is what's going to make the Olympic Committee buy into it. We tell them it's going to be full size Mickey. Well, forget it. Do it. Whatever you want. Put whatever you want in. Say no more. We don't need to prove anything else. So I called it the Torchlight. That was the name of the food hall because it's going to boast this giant floor to ceiling window that overlooks the resort's Olympic ring pool. And this is going to be a single unified body of water shaped like the iconic rings.
Cool.
So basically it's going to be this outline of the outer part of the rings, and the rings are kind of going to be painted on the pool floor like in a really bold colors. So when you view it from above, whether you're on the balconies of the dining hall or the upper levels of the surrounding buildings or underwater, you can see these rings in all their glory.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Different.
Yeah. And then the true centerpiece is, of course, the giant Olympic torch at the back of the pool, which is directly aligned with the exit of the opening ceremony hall. And now, every evening around sunset, the recreation staff will select one lucky guest to participate in the torch lighting ceremony.
Ooh.
So rather than holding a real flame, guests are going to pull a lever that sends fire soaring out of the top of the torch, accompanied by the Olympics fanfare.
Sorry.
That was so cool.
It was bad
Marissa
timing.
hated that idea so much that she just yawned right through it.
All right, give me better. I'm on the IOC. Give me better. Just kidding.
Oh, wow.
Oh my
This
goodness.
I'm kidding.
This is
Lot
what
of
I needed.
pressure.
This is what I needed. She said, that's not impressing me. And actually, I want to say Marissa's probably the first one that would be fighting off a child
Yeah.
to get
I
this
was going to
opportunity.
say,
having
so
the
they're
music
going to have
playing
to
and
somehow randomize it because I'm going to beat kids down to get to light
Whoa,
this torch.
Look at, she's not really going to do that. Disclaimer to any
Yeah.
parents out there. She's also a mother.
I was going to say, I'll beat my own child down.
Oh my,
Say,
okay.
Move
Well-
over, Ollie. Mama's going to light that torch
One thing she's going to do is light that torch.
to my 8-month-old.
I was about to say this ceremony is really going to be a spectacle for all watching, and now it really
That
is.
will be a spectacle.
Yes, actually, because it's going to be Marissa body slamming a 4-year-old.
Yeah. Security
Well-
will probably be called.
So it's going to be called. Well, Marissa, or whichever honored guest it may be that day when Marissa's not there, will get to take home a commemorative medal that's engraved with the torch as a keepsake.
Lovely.
Marissa's going to have about 20 of them.
I'm going to say just line the shelves with torches.
Well, if we stroll around all the different sections of the resort, you're going to notice familiar oversized sports equipment like you see at the existing All-Star. But there is an added layer of storytelling. Interspersed throughout the neighborhoods are commemorative statues of Olympic champions captured in their victory moments.
Oh.
This is a perfect example of collaborative IP design in action because each athlete's likeness would need to be personally approved by that person, including their pose and expression and attire. And if Marissa's in charge of poses, there are going to be a lot of go backs and reworks.
Revisions.
A lot of revisions on that. But I think this kind of mirrors how Disney works with third-party IP holders to ensure that kind of creative decisions respect their original brand. And I truly believe if anyone could pull this off, it would be Disney. So imagine seeing legends like Simone Biles in the gymnastics section, or Michael Phelps in the swimming section, or Michelle Kwan or Tara Lipinski in the ice skating section. Like you can, it's a photo op for sure, but it's definitely just nice to see. And each statue will not only celebrate their achievements, but also kind of reinforce the authenticity of the experience while staying true to Disney's placemaking and guest-focused storytelling.
Yeah.
Well, as we head into the guest rooms, picture this. I'm thinking sleek, clean, undeniably Olympic. The palette is crisp and navy. Crisp navy and white with subtle metallic accents like metals that are kind of tucked into the design, and every piece of furniture feels purposeful and modern and not cardboard. It's kind of built to last, but stylish enough that you are stepping into a world-class athlete space. And the rooms are going to continue that Olympic vibe with large murals of the athletes in motion and subtle nods to the host cities, inspirational quotes from champions. It's going to be clean and minimal, but elevated, and still making smart use of the space like you would expect in a value resort, because this isn't your massive room size here. Now, there is a little twist that makes these rooms really come alive. Imagine waking up in the morning and instead of your generic alarm, you may hear Shaun White or Lindsey Vonn cheering you on in a short wake-up call. It's kind of a little playful, inspiring way, and you can have their little personality there saying like, get up and fuel up and go for gold today. And it's kind of just a little fun way to make it interactive and feel like you're part of the games every morning.
What's up? I'm Shaun White, professional snowboarder, skateboarder, and 3-time Olympic gold medalist.
That's so fun.
That is fun. I love that.
I thought about doing it through the Hey Mickey instead of like a wake up call, so that you could really just kind of set it and it would just talk to you instead of getting a phone call and having to answer it from them. But it could go either way.
Yeah.
And Jenny's trying to get a Hey Mickey for her home.
We were just talking about that today. Yes.
So let us know when
Still
you get
thinking
it.
about it. Okay.
Okay. When you do it, make a reel and let us know what you do with it. Well, yeah. So I really think an expansion of this size would be a really big deal, especially when you look at how Disney resort development has shifted over the last decade. And I think it's worth noting that Disney hasn't built a new value resort in Florida since 2012 with Art of Animation.
Really?
Yeah. And I think you can kind of immediately feel the difference between that resort and the value resorts that came before it.
To be honest, I forgot it was value until you just said that, because it's so different from the other ones.
Right. I think, they learned a lot over the years. The rooms are smarter and the layouts are better and the theming feels a lot more intentional and more immersive. And when I talk about this being a premier value resort, it's not just semantics. It's about acknowledging how much Disney's design standards have evolved too.
Yeah.
Thinking about this idea that if Disney were to build a value resort today, it would naturally reflect more than a decade of evolution in design and operation. So like thinking about what we got with Art of Animation to what we would get now.
It's completely different. I mean, I think the feeling of the All-Stars, even though like I know we like All-Star movies, it just feels old. And Art of Animation has an entirely different feel to it. It feels more modern. It feels like somewhere I want to be versus somewhere I have to be because I need to pay less for one of the cheaper resorts.
Yeah.
And to that point, I think it's difficult because Art of Animation was built that way with that intention. And if you were like, if you wanted to upgrade All-Star Sports as is now, it would take so much work. It would have to be like full renovations and like change. You can't just like paint it again or like replace it doesn't have that same feel as Art of Animation.
Yeah.
So like it wouldn't work. So that's why I think this could be an opportunity to show what they can do now.
Yeah. I just think there's so much you can do with it. And kind of one of the things too, for the most part, the resorts, especially the modern and deluxe resorts, there's so much going on that you can stay and enjoy your resort, where the All-Star, if you're not swimming, you're kind of, if you're not swimming or eating, you're leaving, you're at the parks.
Yeah.
But there's so much that you could do with this. And it's, I don't know, I was even thinking like we've got a museum here, and there's a little sports section where you can race an athlete and see how fast you are compared to them. That you could
That's
kind of
cool.
do, like, I don't know,
That's a great idea.
just something, little things that you can kind of play with to keep people at the resort and enjoying it. But you like, it's just such a great idea and something so fun. Or, you could do something almost maybe with the gift shop where they can get, I don't know if you like could partner with a brand like Nike or something, and they could get like track suits, and you could pick the flag of your country and get like a patch on it, or get it personalized, or I don't know, just like
Jenny, you are hired.
You're breaking out the ideas.
You're hired for this
I
one.
was enjoying. I was getting so into it as you were saying, like everything you could do there. That I don't know. We're just kind of talking about how the values, or the 3 all-star resorts are just a little bit older and stale at this point. That I don't know. There's so much potential there. That
bringing the sports girly into this one was the right call.
I don't know about that, but
yeah.
But I'm learning what you said about like race and athlete. I'm thinking about all these ways you could have these kind of like intimate moments where you're like with an athlete or something. And like, you know how they did it for a while? I think it was at a lot of All-Stars, where you could like push a button on a screen and like Pluto would like walk into the screen with you, and it looked like he was there with you or something. Or Minnie, you could pick your character and the character would walk out. You could do that.
Like in the lobby?
Yes, it was like in the lobbies.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
So what if you had like a wall, and you could like pick your athlete or something, and you push the button, and Simone Biles walks out next to you and talks to you and is like, "Hey, I like your outfit for the parks," or something. Or that's a little stupid, but things like that, like to where and like
interact with you.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of cool things you could do like that, especially thinking about like what modern technology can do and what you can do with AI in a positive way. We don't use that on this show, or just where technology has gone. I think there's a lot you could do to make people really feel like they're immersed in this, for lack of a better word, into this experience one-on-one and alongside the athletes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good idea. I think another big question to ask is why Disney hasn't been building value resorts at all, and why so much of their focus has shifted toward DVC. I remember when we did the Villains Resort in the past, I put some of these ideas out on Reddit just to get feedback, and I was torn to shreds over the idea that this would never be built because it's not DVC, and I'm sure there's the same thought is happening here. And so I kind of have this thought of like, what is the reason for that? And I think it comes down to a lot of what we talked about last week: risk and predictability. I think DVC is a very low risk model for them that is largely financing itself.
Yeah.
Guests are buying this up front, and it helps fund construction and long-term maintenance of the property. And those same guests are very committed to returning year after year. And it kind of creates this very steady, reliable revenue for Disney to have, constantly, or without Disney having to constantly market and refill rooms like they do with traditional hotels. So it's, you're bought in, you're coming regardless.
Yeah.
They don't have to do this extra work to lure you in and make you want to choose this. So I think there's also simplicity to how DVC grows. Instead of acquiring new land and building entirely new resorts, they can just add towers to existing properties. You've got Bay Lake Tower, you've got the new Polynesian Tower.
Yeah.
It's cheaper, it's faster, it's far less complex from having to create a brand new infrastructure of a resort. And because these are repeat visitors, they're not starting from scratch every time. With new guests, this relationship is built in. So whatever they build, it's Disney. As Disney fans, we buy into it. Even if we hate it up front, Disney is Disney. We're going to love it. And like I said, this ties back into a lot of what we talked about last week with our Imagineering term risk appetite. Just like Frozen expansion in Paris, Disney tends to favor projects that offer more certainty and lower financial exposure. And DVC is that perfect mindset for them. It fits the mold of low risk, high reward. So I think there's also the reality of park capacity, and the parks are already, more crowded than they've ever been, and they feel it. And when you're in the parks, it doesn't feel the same as it felt in the 90s and the early 2000s. And you can't just keep building new hotels and expect parks to absorb this unlimited growth. And I think DVC allows Disney to increase their revenue dramatically with the cost of that thing and without really increasing attendance.
Yeah.
So they're getting more money without more people. And I think when you put it all together, Disney's strategy makes a lot of sense. And DVC rewards repeat visitors. It provides financial stability for them, and it just keeps the operational risk low.
Yeah. Well, I think also the Disney guest has changed. You know, when we were kids, you were lucky if you went to Disney World a few times in your whole life, but now we're seeing families going to Disney World 4 or 5 times a year. So where they're becoming full-on Disney families. They've grown up with it.
Correct.
And so, you know, it's gone
they
from
know
being...
the VIP tour guide's name. They get the same one every time. You know, it's turned into that. And it's a whole nother conversation that we don't have time for now about, you know, where Disney is headed in pricing and what kind of experience it's become. This really high dollar experience that it's not necessarily for everyone anymore. And so DVC is definitely in line with that.
Yeah. Well, that's also too, though, now going back to this resort, the All-Star Sports, you could almost see where you could add new life into All-Star music and All-Star movies. I mean, look at the Taylor Swift Eras Tour costumes.
Right.
You know, I mean, they drew an enormous
That was 3
crowd.
costumes.
Yes. And imagine if you could bring something like that to All-Star music. You know, if you could bring, you know, I don't know.
Guess you would get coming
off
by
the top
just
of
to see that.
Yeah.
Top of my head, I'm thinking, what if you did this exact same project of mine as a Grammys side?
Yes.
And you partner with the Grammys, and that's your collaboration. And then you do Oscars for movies. And so then you're really kind of getting the peak of each value resort, like the epitome of success for each one. And so that's like the success side of the road and then the kind of the basic theme side. So you could kind of do this with all 3.
Right.
So we kind of just created 3 new resorts. In one project again. I think that's kind of what makes this project really interesting. I think that an Olympic village at a premium value level kind of runs counter to the current trend. It's not the safest and easiest option, but to me it felt like a really thoughtful one. And it kind of asks what a modern resort could look like if it were as a value resort, if it was designed today using everything Disney has learned over the last decade and shaped through the lens of collaborative IP design.
Yeah. Are you seeing this as a completely separate resort, as in their guests would check into their own lobby for this? So it's not part of it.
It's got the name, but it's not the same. It's like a sister resort.
Okay.
Like it's a literal, it's All-Star Sports Olympic Village, a premium value resort. So it's like its own thing, but it's a spin-off, I guess, instead of a one giant unified resort. But I think that's also what makes Imagineering so fascinating, is that magic isn't just in dreaming big, and it's really very much for Disney. It's in negotiating and adapting and still finding ways to create something extraordinary within very real constraints, whatever that may be. And I think that's really what season 4 and all of our seasons really have been about. We're not just giving you these bold ideas every week. It's ones that we want to be believable. Because I think the most interesting Disney projects aren't the ones with no limits. When you have a blank canvas and you can do whatever with no budget and no, spatial concerns and nobody pushing back, it's not real. And that's never going to happen in Disney. And we've never had that. I don't think we've ever gotten that in the history of Disney. Has there been an unlimited resource and unlimited budget experience? And so I think these ones that have more restriction around them prove that great design can still win gold even under the pressure.
Wow, look at you using a pun.
I know. I
was
that.
like, how can I make this Olympic?
But I love that. I think you did a really great job, making this realistic, but also making this an experience that me, who I don't like sports, but I do love the Olympics. So I would surely go stay there. Right now, if someone told me I had to go stay at the All-Star Sports, I'd be like, I'd rather just stay home.
But not now.
Not
Now
anymore.
I'll be there, pushing kids out of the way for
That's
a
right.
torch.
Knocking kids down for
To light the torch.
to
For
light
the flashlight.
torch. Wow. Well, our one sentence creative intent this week doesn't really fit on a park map because this isn't in a park, but I imagine it would read something like this if you saw it on the website. Stay where the spirit of the games comes to life as All-Star Sports Olympic Village, a premier value resort celebrating global competition, unity, and the pursuit of excellence.
I love that.
Thank
Put
you.
it on the
Great.
website.
Steven, how much
Absolutely.
time would you say you have Google Earth open or Google Maps
Oh,
open?
it's funny you say that because I was looking at it today. I had about 6 different Google Map tabs open. I was like, I don't need I had to close them out. I was like, my computer's going to crash from all these tabs I have open. But I am always just like, I'm looking at every nook and cranny of these
Yeah.
parks to find where can these things fit? How do we maximize the real estate? What can be, added or moved into something or wedged into something or
Yeah.
there's always a way, and I'm gonna
'Cause
figure it
I
out. I'm
never
gonna
would have
just sit
thought to look for extra space at All-Star Sports.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't know what came over me. I think I wanted to do an Olympics episode because the Olympics were coming up this week or
Yeah.
happening this week. So that's how I got there. But then I didn't know where to go with it. I was looking into parks and I was like, no, there's a major sports opportunity here. And then I started looking at the land around it and I was like, there's so much land here. And I know Disney preserves a lot of that land for habitats and conservation, but I think there's so much space there. They could use some of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you for going through that with me. I feel like this is one of those projects that we did that isn't inherently and blatantly Disney, but I hope that I made it that. And I think I think All-Star itself and the fact that it is a resort, it doesn't have to be so on the nose, but I think I wanted it to feel very much like my intent was I want to create something that is familiar to people and very high level experience Olympics and make it kind of Disney-fied without compromising the integrity of what the Olympics are and keeping them on their pedestal, their golden platform where they should be.
Yeah.
Well, Steven, I'm giving you a gold medal for this project.
All the gold medals.
Yeah, thank you for walking us through the Olympic Village and showing us how something as massive as the games can translate into a place that feels personal, immersive, and very Disney. Like I said, I genuinely want to stay here and keep exploring.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love how this takes the excitement of global competition and it turns it into something guests can experience year-round. It feels celebratory without being overwhelming, which is honestly harder to pull off than it sounds.
Thank you.
Well, before you head into your week, don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcast or a rating on Spotify. And if you're watching us on YouTube, drop a comment and let us know which Olympic section you'd want to stay in. Summer sports, winter sports, or both.
Yeah, and you can weigh in on Instagram at Idiots Imagineering. I'll post a poll this week asking exactly that. So keep an eye out and make your pick.
Yep. And a quick programming note before we go. Since next Monday is President's Day, there won't be a new episode that day, but we'll be back on Tuesday with a brand new episode instead.
And next week, Katie is officially back, and we're heading to the West Coast for the first time this season with a brand new Disneyland project.
I am super excited to get back to Disneyland, even if only inside the episode. It's just been too long.
I know. We're going to get you back.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Until then, we hope you have an amazing week. And of course, if you can dream it,
you can make a podcast about it. Bye.
bye.
Bye.